The arrival. The twin suns of Kepler 442b painted the evening sky in shades of amber and gold as Thomas Kane finished repairing the fence around his property. His weathered hands moved with practiced efficiency, each motion carrying the weight of 30 years spent building things that lasted. The farm stretched out before him, 200 acres of converted wilderness that he had transformed from barren soil into something resembling the earth he remembered. Thomas wiped the sweat from his forehead and squinted at the horizon. A transport vehicle was approaching, kicking up a cloud of red dust that caught the dying light. He had been expecting this visit for weeks, ever since the Galactic Relief Council had contacted him about housing refugees from the recent conflicts in the Andromeda sector. The vehicle came to a stop near his front porch, its engines whining down to silence. Thomas set down his tools and walked toward the craft, his boots crunching on the gravel pathway he had laid stone by stone. The transport door hissed open, releasing a small cloud of cooled air that carried unfamiliar scents. 4 figures emerged slowly, each one different from the others in ways that spoke of distant worlds and alien origins. Thomas had served in the Galactic Defense Force for 15 years before retiring to this frontier planet. He had seen many species during his service, but seeing them here, in his peaceful sanctuary, felt different somehow. The first to step down was tall and graceful, with skin that seemed to shift between blue and silver depending on how the light struck it. Her name, according to the documents he had received, was Zara. She was Vortanian, one of the few survivors from a planet that had been consumed by stellar collapse. Her large, luminous eyes held depths of sorrow that Thomas recognized immediately. Behind her came Nyx, whose ethereal appearance seemed to make her almost transparent in certain angles. The Etherian woman moved like smoke-given form, her pale features marked by intricate patterns that glowed faintly in the twilight. Her world had been destroyed not by natural disaster but by war. The third woman, Kala, possessed the sturdy build and bronze-colored skin of the Thornian people. Her hair was white as starlight, and small crystalline formations grew naturally along her temples and shoulders. These crystal growths pulsed with a soft internal light that reminded Thomas of fireflies. Her planet had been strip-mined to death by corporate interests. Finally, Mira stepped onto the ground with fluid grace. Her Aquarian heritage was evident in the gill slits along her neck and the web-like membranes between her fingers. Her skin had a subtle scale pattern that caught the light like water, and her hair moved as if she were still underwater. Her ocean world had been poisoned by industrial waste. Each woman carried only a small bag of belongings. Everything else they had ever known was gone, reduced to memories and the trauma that haunted their eyes. Thomas felt something stir in his chest, a protective instinct he had not experienced since losing his own family 5 years ago. Thomas approached them slowly, his hands visible and empty in the universal gesture of peace. He had learned enough about non-human body language during his military service to know that sudden movements could be interpreted as threats. "Welcome to Kane Farm," he said in standard Galactic, his accent carrying the rough edges of his Earth origins. "I know this probably looks like the middle of nowhere to you, and honestly, that's because it is. But it's safe, it's quiet, and it's yours for as long as you need it." Zara stepped forward, apparently chosen as the group's spokesperson. When she spoke, her voice carried musical tones that human vocal cords could never produce. "Mr. Kane, we are grateful for your kindness. The Relief Council told us about your offer to provide sanctuary. We know we are strangers to you." Thomas shook his head. "No strangers here, just people who need a place to heal. I lost my wife Elena and my son David in the same conflicts that took your families. We're all in this together now." The admission seemed to ease some of the tension in the group. Nyx's translucent features flickered with what might have been surprise. Kayla's crystals pulsed brighter for a moment. Mira's webbed hands unclenched slightly. As the darkness deepened around them, Thomas gestured toward the farmhouse. The structure was larger than necessary for one person, built during the early days of his marriage when he and Elena had planned to fill it with children and laughter. Now it stood ready to serve a different purpose. "Come on inside," Thomas said. "I've got dinner cooking, and I'm curious to learn what each of you can eat safely. I've done some research on your species' dietary requirements, but nothing beats first-hand knowledge." The interior of the farmhouse was warm and welcoming, filled with handmade furniture and the lingering aromas of a home-cooked meal. Thomas had spent the afternoon preparing a variety of dishes, hoping to accommodate the different nutritional needs of his guests. As they gathered around the large wooden table he had built with his own hands, Thomas noticed how each woman seemed to relax slightly in the comfortable environment. The simple act of sharing food had always been a universal bridge between cultures, and tonight was no exception. Zara tried a spoonful of the vegetable stew, and her eyes widened with pleasure. Nix found that the fruit salad suited her energy-based metabolism perfectly. Kayla discovered that the mineral-rich bread provided exactly the nutrients her crystal formations required. Mira was delighted to find that Thomas had prepared a seaweed soup specifically for her aquatic dietary needs. As they ate, Thomas shared stories of his early days on Kepler 442b, the challenges of terraforming, and the satisfaction of creating something lasting from nothing. In return, the women began to open up about their own experiences, their losses, and their hopes for the future. For the first time in 5 years, Thomas Kane's house felt like a home again.